Storm that continues. It's next on Cairo 7 Eyewitness News.
Take a look at this. A giant tree crashes right through a home, and that is just the beginning of the mess out there.
Downed power lines are sparking along roadsides as crews scramble, trying to keep up.
And caught right in the middle of it all, school children left in the dark.
And if you think the worst is over, wait until you hear what's coming. Good afternoon, I'm Brian Wood.
And I'm Joyce Taylor. Cairo 7 Eyewitness News at noon begins right now.
With complete Northwest news coverage. This is Cairo 7 Eyewitness News at noon.
I just remember sleeping and then hearing this huge crash, and I said, whoa, I mean, that was something big just hit the house.
Something big is right. This is just one of the calling cards, the season's strongest storm left behind. And here's another. Crews are scrambling to get the lights back on for 250,000 customers before more wind and rain moves in overnight. It is a day of picking up, cleaning up, and shoring up from a wild and windy night.
The first part of a 1-2 punch that has Western Washington on storm watch again.
We have live team coverage this noon from around the Puget Sound region and some incredible pictures you'll only see here. Let's begin with Cairo 7 Eyewitness News reporter Chris Lagares on Whidbey Island.
Tell you, Brian, if you think this is over, forget it. Take a look over here. We're at Skatchet Head, which is the southern tip of Whidbey Island, and you can see the waves still pounding into the seawalls here. Occasionally, they'll hit that concrete and just spray up and over and give us all a good dousing. You can tell, I tell you, from the moment you step on the island that this is not normal. Wind and waves continue to batter the south end of Whidbey Island. The ferry trip from Mukilteo is bumpy. The Clinton loading ramp without power this morning. Ferry workers had to plug the ramp into the boat before they could let cars on and off.
There's branches and junk all over the roads.
At one point, the whole island was without electricity last night. Trees tangled with power lines, power poles flattened.
Driving down here, it was just almost impossible. Branches falling all over the place, and it's a mess.
Generators are the only way for many to get light, water, and even heat. Bailey's store was open this morning. Customers a little awed by what happened.
I don't ever remember a sustained windstorm like we've had the last 10 days or
85-year-old Hal Gillum is stuck on this island without a generator, waiting out the storm with a more primitive way of keeping warm.
The damn fireplace. You walk around in front of it a little bit and go back and you warm your behind up a little bit and go about your business. But it's really a job. I'm not kidding you at all.
But for some, like this windsurfer, the storm is an opportunity to go on a wild November ride. Well, the utility crews have been at it since 10 or 11 o'clock last night, and one of the foremans I talked to said he'll probably be working right up until 11 o'clock tonight. They're hoping to get most of the power back on by tonight. Keep your fingers crossed, and hopefully they'll be able to do that. Reporting live from the southern edge of Whidbey Island, Chris Lagares, Cairo 7 Eyewitness News.
Chris, thank you. Last night's storm wiped out an Oak Harbor landmark. The Blue Fox Drive-In is gone with the wind. The screen, as you can see, is literally smashed to pieces. Folks have been coming to this drive-in for some 40 years now, but the owner says he will rebuild.
You don't have to look far today to see limbs and leaves littering the ground, but in some places the whole tree blew down. Cairo 7 Eyewitness News reporter Michelle Millman is live with that part of our storm watch coverage. Michelle?
Good afternoon. Well, unfortunately, as you know, during windstorms such as this, we see our share of trees knocked into houses. But what we're about to show you is no ordinary tree knocked into a house story.
This was the dining room right here, and then the kitchen was in the middle, and the living room was over at the end there.
All Barbara Mayer can do now is count her blessings. The huge tree that cut a path right through her home didn't come into her bedroom. It was about 4 o'clock this morning when she heard the huge crash.
It popped my bedroom door open, and I looked outside the bedroom door, and all I could see was branches and pieces of wood.
And as you can see from Chopper 7, the tree is huge. In fact, it's so big it goes the length of the mayor's home and even touches her neighbor's house.
Okay, I was sleeping right here.
The tree didn't touch the rooms in the back of the house, but it did go right through the living room, where Barbara's son Eric might have been if he were home last night.
Pretty lucky, because if I would have fell asleep on the couch, I'd have...
And Mom feels the same.
I guess I'm more relieved that none of the kids were home and nobody got hurt. My cat survived. I'm alive, so you know, the possessions can be replaced, but family can't, so.
And the tree will be removed today piece by piece. And Barbara will have insurance agents come out and take a look at her house, which is nearly totaled. Until then, she will stay with friends in Linwood. Reporting live at South Whidbey Island, Michelle Millman, Cairo 7 Eyewitness News.
Thanks, Michelle. Homeowners are taking a wide-eyed view of the aftermath this morning in Whatcom County. That's one of the hardest hit areas in all of this. Our Northtown Bureau Chief, Tricia Manning-Smith, joins us live from our mobile newsroom in Bellingham. Tricia?
This is one of the homes that we responded to overnight, and we'll give you a close look in daylight. The homeowner says now that he can fully see the damage, it's a lot worse than he had feared. When this tree smacked into his roof and right into his dining room, he's afraid that it may have knocked the whole house off of its foundation. And listen to this, no wonder why. We had gusts here in Bellingham of 76 miles per hour. So unfortunately, a lot of folks here are coping with some bad news today.
It was just a really big bang at about 1 o'clock this morning.
The Atkinson family awoke to this nightmare. A tree ripped through their roof and dissected their home. With gusts of over 60 miles per hour, they did not need to see it at the time to believe it.
We did not come outside because the winds were still really blowing really hard.
I'll be able to climb pretty high in the cedar to give me the good angle.
There's no shortage of work for arborist Brian Boatman. He swings like a monkey from branch to branch high in the treetops to plan his attack. He awoke to several panicked phone calls this morning.
There's water coming in. Get there as soon as you can.
Boatman carves away the branches to reveal the extent of the damage.
There's a couple big broken ones up here.
Not only are North Sound residents coping with disasters to their homes, but thousands are still in the dark. In Skagit County, the wind slammed down power lines over a 2.5-mile stretch of road. There's no estimate of when the power will be fully restored throughout the North Sound. And power outages in homes mean that some folks face some serious health problems. In fact, the hospital here in Bellingham took in at least one patient overnight. He had to come in because his power was out, thus his oxygen tank did not work. Reporting live in Bellingham, North Sound Bureau Chief Tricia Manning-Smith, Cairo 7 Eyewitness News.
Well, we've shown you some amazing pictures. Here now is a county-by-county look at power outages. The numbers are changing by the hour as crews get the lights back on. Here are the latest numbers we have. Some 34,000 homes and businesses lost power in Whatcom County, 22,000 in Skagit, 3,000 in Snohomish, 28,000 in Island County. 34,000 people without power in King County, mostly in the northeastern section of the county. 3,000 homes and businesses in Jefferson County dark, and 12,000 in Kitsap County.
Those power outages are creating confusion, chaos, and a myriad of other problems on the east side as well. Cairo 7 Eyewitness News reporter Christina McKenna is live in Bellevue with the latest from there. Christina?
Well, Joyce, neighbors around this apartment complex had said the tree behind me needed to be cut down for some time. They're finally cutting it today, but they weren't able to get to it before it crashed into this apartment overnight. The woman who lives there turned out to be okay. She wasn't hurt at all. This is just one of many stories, lots of confusion all over the east side today.
It didn't take much for winds to knock them over. Trees like this one had been soaking in saturated soil for days. But by morning, east side commuters were less likely to be held up by branches than utility crews. This repair team had been rehanging lines since 3:30 yesterday afternoon.
It's been real nice if you like wind and rain. A little bit of hail.
At Beaver Lake Middle School, instead of holding class, teachers were heading off confusion. By the time anyone realized the school was without power, the buses had already dropped kids off. Students spent the morning in darkened classrooms while teachers called parents to collect them.
There was no school from before the time school started this morning, and apparently they're the only school in the district that had a power failure.
The early dismissal may have been inconvenient for some parents, but their kids didn't seem to mind.
Fun. Like, pretty easy school day for me.
Back now live. While some kids may have gotten the day off, obviously lots of adults are going to be spending long hours trying to work and clean all this up. Good news is some of those scattered outages, or people who were affected by those scattered outages, have already had their power restored on the east side. Reporting live from Bellevue, I'm Christina McKenna, Cairo 7 Eyewitness News.
And Christina, the power is back on at SeaTac Airport this noon, but what a mess overnight. No power meant jetways didn't work, leaving passengers stuck on planes for hours. Over in the control tower, backup generators were put to work when the power went out, but several planes were delayed. Right now, though, everything is back to normal at SeaTac. The high winds complicated things for ferry commuters this morning. In addition to power outages and rough seas, a floating dock flipped over at the Fauntleroy terminal in West Seattle. That kept the larger ferry Issaquah out of service and left just the two smaller boats on the run. And drivers have their share of nightmares today, too. The wind whipping up waves on Lake Washington, crashing them against the 520 bridge. The structure itself, though, has weathered this storm just fine.
Told you this was the first part of a 1-2 punch. Andy Wappler's in the Weather Center to tell us what's ahead. Andy.
Unfortunately, there is more to come, and boy, last night that first punch was a good one. 76-mile-an-hour winds at Bellingham, and you saw in Tricia Manning-Smith's report that sent a tree through a house in Bellingham. 81 miles an hour out at Destruction Island on the Washington coast, and we clocked 57 here downtown at Cairo, and most places saw winds in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, even some 70s, and Anacortes at 70 as well. Overnight tonight, we're going to get the second punch coming through. More wind and rain for the area, especially for the coast and the north end of the Sound. The rain may send our rivers up. The Skokomish is already flooding and will get higher. And over the next few days, past problems could mean trouble if you're headed eastern Washington for the holiday. More on what's coming up for Thanksgiving. Some stormy weather between now and then. That's in the 5-day forecast ahead.
Can't seem to escape this. We've got more details now in our top story. No power means no school for thousands of kids today. Entire districts closed in some of the hardest hit counties. Stay with Cairo 7 Eyewitness News for complete storm watch coverage throughout this afternoon and tonight, and the latest on the developing storm that Andy was just talking about, poised to slam western Washington tonight. That's coming up tonight at 5.
If you are a parent, chances are you have one. We will tell you about a massive recall that could keep your child from danger. We are live with details that you can't afford to miss next.
Baseball Hall of Famer Joe DiMaggio in the fight of his life right now. And take a look at this. A horrible mudslide rips through 30 homes. That and more next on Cairo 7 Eyewitness News at noon.